Is there a perfect treatment for diabetics which includes weight loss? What tests do you need to confirm that perfect treatment? So in other words, the big question of the day, is your diabetes curable? Can we actually use the word curable? And most importantly, how would you gauge or quantitatively know? What if I said to you that even though you may be diagnosed as a diabetic, you can not only outlive your peers, but have a healthier, more energetic, happier life, which coincidentally will have you looking and feeling the best you've ever been, even if you were like me, an insulin-using, insulin-dependent diabetic? And I'll explain how and why today. But before we begin, let me welcome you to the Resilient Diabetic. This is where we turn ordinary struggling diabetics into extraordinary, well-controlled diabetics. If you don't know who I am and you are brand new, my name is Jay Sampat, and I am an insulin-dependent diabetic diagnosed a little over 5 years ago, so the proud owner of a pancreas that seems to have gone on a permanent and lifelong vacation. So not only am I diabetic just like you, where we will be walking that walk and talking that talk together, but I do also have a university's Bachelor of Science degree in nutrition dietetics. And as you would guess, that comes in very handy in discussing all the intricacies of being a diabetic. The unique information presented today will only be found here on the Resilient Diabetic. So if you want to learn more, I would highly suggest you hit that subscribe button, that like button, and the notification icon, which is the gray bell. That is so you don't miss a second of those upcoming episodes that would and could change your life. Diabetes is a unique disease. And I've said this before, being diagnosed as a diabetic can be a blessing in disguise. And what do I mean by that? Well, unlike other diseases where you have no control over death, further complications, and related diseases, thus a whole lot of suffering, our bodies, once diagnosed, have essentially shown us our cards in life. No other disease allows for this. It's communicating back to us we can either live a full, long, healthy life or begin this downward spiral of extreme health issues. Everyone else will be caught off guard. But see, your body wants to live, and it sends you signs and signals of what it wants and what is directly killing it. It has given you this crossroads or a choice. Kind of take it or leave it. Point blank, what is it saying? Basically, it's this. Our bodies, as designed, cannot consume all these carbohydrates, good or bad, at a rate our modern society does. So cut it back, and most importantly, as a diabetic, take charge. And if you do take charge and understand some physiological basics, you can and will outlive your peers with no remarkable damage if caught early, because you actually have certain advantages over everybody else. We, and we alone, get that initial what's known as shot across the bow, a pre-warning, if you will, of the damage a high carbohydrate intake, thus a high insulin requirement, would be doing to our bodies. Everyone else may or may not be concerned with the evil sugars out there, like sodas and refined packaged foods. And though, yes, that is what's killing our society, but we know based on our glucose meters that even the good carbs like oatmeal and whole grain breads can kill us just as easily. There is no such thing as a good carb if taken in excess to one's needs. And what are those advantages we have over everybody else? We have all the health aid tools in place to monitor ourselves in ways no other disease allows for. Think about all the tests we do year after year to ensure health. Who else gets to monitor those health markers like we do? And what is the single most important tool we have as diabetics? Our glucose meters. It's our savior. No matter what anyone says to you, oh, you can eat this or you can eat that. No. It is your glucose meter that will be your final judge and juror for life. So to begin answering our questions, is there a perfect treatment or is diabetes curable? First thing we need to know is one thing. Are you diagnosed properly? And I will set up a playlist for you at the end of the video called LADA Diabetics, which is also known as a lot of diabetics, which will go into detail on those unknown and extremely important additional tests needed to confirm diagnosis. So are you a type 1, type 2, type 1.5, or even a pre-diabetic? See, this matters really importantly because each type and each person within the type will have a personally designed treatment plan, a different set of medications, and most importantly, a unique sensitivity to carbohydrates. So if one is diagnosed as a type 1 or a lot of type 1.5, then you know taking exogenous insulin will be part of daily life. Insulin will be that modern cure. Some are unfortunately told once you get this diagnosis, it can become a life sentence. But see, that's not true for many of you. Recognizing this truth is the crucial first step in gaining control over diabetes. Many doctors, dietitians, and diabetic specialists will claim that type 2 diabetes is a chronic and progressive disease. The American Diabetes Association even has this mentioned on their website. And I personally hate the term chronic and progressive. The reason you are following me, the reason you're subscribed, is because I do not agree with that statement at all. Diabetes is not a progressive disease if you take charge and you take charge early. What do I mean by progressive? Meaning, based on bad advice, you're now using more and more insulin and more medications than you need. You're now put on different kinds of medications, a third or fourth, just to lower blood sugars. Here's the thing. If you are taking more and more medication to keep your blood sugars at the same level, your diabetes is getting worse. Even if your blood sugars are getting slightly better, your diabetes is getting worse. This is unfortunately what's happening to many patients. The body's already overflowing with sugar. The medications only hide the sugar by cramming it into an already engorged body. So essentially, what is the body to do with all the extra carbohydrates coming in day after day when the body's fuel sources are full because there's no physical activity? And does it matter if those carbohydrates are healthy, like whole grains, if one's not using it for energy? And this is where the lesson on diabetes begins, regardless of type. Once carbohydrates are consumed in excess, it doesn't really matter if it comes from cans of sodas, bowls of rice, or even whole grain breads. The body now has to find a place to store it because it's not being used due to inactivity. Our body stores are full. So what does it do? It converts those carbs, those excessive carbs, into body fat and stores that specific fat in places the human body was not designed for. In between body organs, inside muscle tissue, inside the liver, up and around the belly. This specific fat then turns and creates resistance for insulin, meaning this fat in particular makes insulin worthless. So the body has to make more and more insulin, or you have to take more and more insulin and medications to help lower blood sugars. And this deadly cycle continues until that breaking point occurs. You're either diagnosed as a diabetic or your diabetes just gets worse. Progressive. So let me give you an example of our diabetic experts. They're either working for us or against us, but not intentionally. Say you were diabetic and you had to stay in a hospital overnight after surgery. What would they serve you for breakfast? Now, here is a typical breakfast that will be served at a hospital. Remember, you're surrounded by specialists here. And mind you, this is for diabetic patients. The standard meal will include, get this, half a cup of V8 juice, sugars, 3/4 a cup of bran flakes cereal, more sugars, 1 cup of fat-free milk, more sugars, 1 slice of whole wheat toast, more sugars, 1 tablespoon of margarine or low sugar jelly. Well, I would at least ask for butter instead of margarine. And then coffee. So let me get this straight. You're feeding that into a diabetic patient who is in the hospital, who's had surgery, whose blood cortisol levels are through the roof, which raises blood sugars, who are probably on painkillers or anti-inflammatories, which raises blood sugars. They're type 2, so they're probably resistant, which raises blood sugars. And they're in bed all day, resting, inactive. And they get all those carbs? Now you're getting this. Second, I'll give you another quick example. Have you ever noticed the disclaimers on all the diabetic medication ads you see on TV? I want you to watch the next commercial very carefully. You will notice somewhere on there will be a statement that this medication has to be used in conjunction to, yes, diet and exercise. Why? Because all diabetic medications are pretty much worthless without the understanding that diet matters the most. So the big question, is diabetes curable? Diabetes is incurable, but a person can stay in remission for a long time if blood sugars are controlled. No cure for diabetes currently exists. There are no shortcuts, especially supplements. There are no special diets, but the disease can go into what's known as remission if one understands how carbohydrates in particular are balanced with the right amount of insulin. For us type 1s or 1.5 such as myself, we will be on insulin for the rest of our life. But for those of you who are type 2 or pre-diabetic, you can, if you're diligently using your glucose meter, getting the right treatment, along with a solid diet and lifestyle changes, remission can occur. When diabetes goes into remission, it means that the body does not show any signs of diabetes, although the disease is always technically still present. Doctors have not come to a final consensus on what exactly constitutes remission, but they all include a hemoglobin A1C levels of below 6 as a significant factor. Our A1C levels indicate a person's average blood sugar levels over a 3-month period. According to the American Diabetic Association, remission can take 3 different forms. The first one is called partial remission. When a person is maintaining a blood glucose levels less than that of a person with diabetes for 1 year without the use of any medications. The ADA's guideline was an A1C of 6 and under. But according to our beloved chart, that is kind of still in pre-diabetes area. We would want to be in the mid-5s or lower, and that is what I have mentioned and I will continue to mention in all of my videos regardless of type. Second one, complete remission. When the blood glucose levels return to normal levels completely outside the range of diabetes or pre-diabetes and stays there for at least 1 year without any medications. And that would be about a 5.6 or lower. Prolonged remission, when complete remission lasts for at least 5 years. Even if a person maintains normal blood sugars for 20 years, a doctor would still consider diabetes to be in remission rather than cured. So what is the bottom line? Diabetes is our blessing. We know it's a disease that can be controlled through the right diet. It's also a disease that you are in control of. So take those reins, take them early, and live that long, healthy life. I will add a playlist for you. In that playlist, you will find more videos that will definitely help you be that healthy, energetic diabetic. In the video, LADA Diabetics, we'll cover the 2 unknown, very important tests every diabetic should consider that will confirm the exact type. Videos on exercise, which will present a whole different view on how the human body works, especially for us diabetics. Videos on insulin. Does it make you fat? Metformin. How about your doctor? And your doctor's limitations on diet. You'll need to know that. What about simple things such as oatmeal? Can we as diabetics eat oatmeal? I will create the link for you right there. If you're on a desktop or laptop, use your mouse to click that box. If you're on your mobile device, tap that with your fingers. So have a great and productive day, and we'll see you soon with another episode, always released weekly. Bye for now.